My name is Chrissy Hill, and I am the Chief Legal Officer and Interim Chief Operating Officer of Parity Technologies, which is the leading technical contributor to Polkadot, which is the world's largest DAO. And I think over the next couple days, you're going to have an amazing agenda of different speakers. Later today, we have, I think right after me, you'll be hearing about the new power couple, AI and blockchain. You'll also be hearing about 1 billion users coming to Astar. Also, I think Mark Katcha will be talking about the new Polkadot Ecosystem Fund. And then so many speakers in between. Gav later today at 5 p.m. to talk about JAM. And that's just day one of Decoded Asia. There's a whole day tomorrow. So I'm kicking things off talking about the road to decentralization. So now, you may yawn when you hear that. What does decentralization mean? And I just thought it would be good with potentially dry topic to start things off on a light note, because it's a topic that comes up quite a bit. And part of my research for today's talk, I just asked a bunch of people, when you hear the word decentralization, what does it mean to you? And there's lots of different answers. But what Gav said about decentralization and what it was and why it's important was basically technology allows a lot of information to be centralized into just a few people. Unlike ever in our past when information was available, we now have the technology to put it in quite a few individuals or companies. And so that's why this concept of decentralization, when we talk about Web3, why do we care? And it's because of the bold mission of Web3. And I mean, you guys can read this. I'm not going to read it to you, but it's essentially about our global digital economy and also focusing on values in order to bring about a fair and inclusive digital economy. And the first value is decentralization. The other three are digital sovereignty, the transparent governance with global participation, and fair and equitable treatment for all ultimately putting power back in the hands of the users. So again, we're moving away from that centralized concept of too much information in one place. So what is it? What is decentralization? Like I said, when I was doing my research, I think about it with a kind of legal hat on or an operational hat on. But when you ask a dev, they have a different answer. When you ask someone who is in marketing or communications, they describe it differently. And it's actually all of those things. So what I wanted to do was share with you a few key topics, a few key components of decentralization. Their governance, development, computation, value accrual, and also usage, participation, and accessibility. Now, I didn't come up with this matrix. Latham & Watkins, which is a law firm, came up with this matrix. And it's actually really interesting. I would encourage all of y'all to go to their website. And essentially, it looks at all of these concepts and says, okay, this is what a really centralized system looks like. This is what a partially decentralized system looks like. More decentralized looks like, and then fully decentralized. So, but how do we bring this concept to life? What I wanted to do was to play a couple videos for you to show you what decentralization feels like when it's going well and what it feels like when it's not going so well. Because the central theme that we all need to focus on when you think about decentralization is autonomy of the participants, of all the individuals or projects who are participating in that decentralization effort, and then also having a common goal. So I thought the best way to do that was to show a little clip of what it looks like when you're operating with autonomy and also a common goal.
This is one of the most ridiculous balls I've ever seen. Look at that ball in the Kremeski, in all the Red Bull defenders.
So when you have a high-performing team, where all the individuals in that team are very skilled. They know what they're doing, and they work together to achieve that common goal of winning, or putting the ball in the goal in this case. You can see how beautifully it works. But, oh, sorry.
This is one of the most ridiculous.
Looking at how it goes without autonomy and a common goal, I thought this clip adequately demonstrated how it could be very different. So just a little levity. I'm sure y'all can see the difference. One is the beautiful game, or they're both the beautiful game for different reasons, right? But I feel like that gives you the feeling of what decentralization looks like when it's going really well, when all the players on the field know how skilled they need to be and what their purpose is, and they deliver, versus those who are learning how to do it. And I think you'll see within Web3 different protocols and different people who are at different stages of that journey. So as I said, there were 5 areas. Computation is the first. And in terms of the different components of computation, I'm focusing in this slide on network decentralization. But there is also block creation concentration, node diversity, client diversity, diversity of data availability, and L2 integration. So, maybe those aren't concepts that y'all would think about when you first hear the word decentralization, but actually they're very important for that skilled position related to computation in order to achieve for a fully decentralized network. So this journey is just going from, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. You've got multiple independent nodes, you start to get more nodes, and then you have thousands of permissionless nodes. And that end journey is when you are fully decentralized. The next area is development. Where's the roadmap? Under development, we're talking about the actual roadmap of delivering the technology, but you should also be thinking of completeness of the protocol, ongoing development, risk management, the development of third-party protocols, development of apps, and then also ongoing development funding. Each of those components are analyzed in this matrix that I was telling you about to show you what centralized looks like versus what fully decentralized looks like and the journey in between. Again, this is the community feedback, community becoming the main driver of the roadmap, and then the community drives the entire roadmap. Third component, governance. Who calls the shots? Under governance, again, you look at voting control, protocol development control, functionality control, significant influence, and then also communications. I won't go through all of those in detail, but we were thinking about who calls the shots. Where are we from a community stage at each stage, and what are we delivering? Value accrual. Now, this is really important. There's been a lot in the news lately about who owns the IP. That is a central component of value accrual in Web3. And I think you see it a lot in the gaming space. Again, if a company owns all the intellectual property through to all the code being open source and maybe forked by third parties, that's the journey to decentralization. Also under value accrual, they talk about token value, ownership, and then how many outstanding tokens. So again, you should be thinking about all of these things when you think, are we decentralized? And then finally, usage, participation, and accessibility. Basically, how's adoption going, right? How's the liquidity of your token looking? At least how many people are using it who aren't insiders, who weren't early users? How many people outside of that initial community are you reaching? Again, these are markers of decentralization. And it's a spectrum. How far do you want to go? As I said, you know, this matrix goes from centralized to fully decentralized with a couple of stops along the way. And you don't have to be all the way at decentralized. on each one of these points. You can be somewhere in the middle. So how far do you and your protocol want to go? Because with this autonomy, which is necessary to achieve decentralization, comes responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility, as they say. So you need to be thinking about, can you deliver a strong, skilled project that is fully decentralized? I won't go into all the compliance aspects that y'all should be thinking about, but of course, you know, with my chief legal officer hat on, I always talk to founders about a healthy legal and compliance framework or diet for their organizations. And thinking about when you build things properly from the outset and you budget for certain, you know, foreseeable costs related to setup. And it can be in any of these topics, from staffing to IP to, you know, making the decision, do you DAO or not to DAO, as they say. But you should be having the right guidance in order to tick all these boxes to see if they're applicable to you or not. So it's very protocol specific. It's like a bit of a healthy diet for individuals, right? Just like you wouldn't, I'm a 5 foot tall, petite woman. I would probably have a very different healthy eating plan to a gentleman who's 6'6" and plays professional football, for instance, right? And so it's very dependent upon who you are, who you want to be, and how you want your project to show up. It's not one size fits all. So the one thing about Polkadot to think about is, you know, of course, we go back to that decentralization concept. It is a decentralized autonomous organization, a DAO. It's the world's largest DAO. And in that context, I think this is how the world's largest DAO should be playing. It should be playing like Messi from Inter Miami, the beautiful game, not like those lovely children who are running around, and it's very funny and brings a little levity. But this is what we should be aspiring to when we think about decentralization and all its different components as much as we can. So I think that's it from me. And if y'all have any questions about the matrix that I talked about, those 5 different areas of decentralization, what would be right for you and your project, then I'm very happy to answer questions over the coming days. And I wish you all a very enlightening and fun Decoded Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you.